Let us continue with Chapter 15, in which Rabbit has a busy day, and we learn that Christopher Robin does in the mornings. It was going to be one of Rabbit's busy days. As soon as he woke up, he felt important, as if everything depended upon him. It was just the day for organizing something, or for writing a notice signed Rabbit, or for seeing what everybody else thought about it. And it was a perfect morning for hurrying around to Pooh and saying, "Very well, then, I'll tell Piglet." And then going to Piglet and saying, "Pooh thinks, but perhaps I'd better see Owl first." It was a captainish sort of day when everybody said "Yes, Rabbit," and "No, Rabbit," and waited until he had told them. He came out of his house and sniffed the warm spring morning as he wondered what he would do. Kanga's house was nearest, and at Kanga's house was Roo, who said "Yes, Rabbit," and "No, Rabbit," almost better than anybody else in the forest. But there was another animal there nowadays, a strange and bouncy Tigger, and he was a sort of Tigger who was always in front when you were showing him the way anywhere, and was generally out of sight when you at last came to the place and said proudly, "Here we are." "No, not Kangas," said Rabbit thoughtfully to himself as he curled his whiskers in the sun, and to make quite sure that he wasn't going there, he turned to the left and trotted in the other direction, which was the way to Christopher Robin's house. "After all," said Rabbit to himself, "Christopher Robin depends on me. He's fond of Pooh and Piglet and Eeyore, and so am I, but they haven't any brain, not to notice. And he respects Owl, because you can't help rejecting anybody who can spell Tuesday, even if he doesn't spell it right. But spelling isn't everything. There are days when spelling Tuesday simply doesn't count, and Kanga is too busy looking after Roo, and Roo is too young, and Tigger is too bouncy to be any help. So there's really nobody but me. When you come back to look at it, I'll go and see if there's anything he wants to do, and then I'll do it for him. It's just the day for doing things." He trotted along happily, and by the by he crossed the streams and came to the place where his friends and relations lived. There seemed to be even more of them about than usual this morning, and having nodded to a hedgehog or two, with whom he was too busy to shake hands, and having said "Good morning" and "Good morning," importantly to some of the others, and "Ah, there you are," kindly to the smaller ones, he waved a paw at them over his shoulder, and was gone, leaving such an air of excitement and I don't know what behind him that several members of the Beetle family, including Henry Rush, made their way at once to the 100-acre woods and began climbing trees in hopes of getting to the top before it happened, whatever it was, so that they might see it properly. Rabbit hurried to the edge of the 100-acre woods, feeling more and more important every minute, and soon he came to the tree where Christopher Robin lived. He knocked at the door and called out once or twice, and then he walked back a little way, and put his paw out to keep out the sun, and called out to the top of the tree. Then he turned all around and shouted, "Hello, and I say, it's Rabbit." But nothing happened. Then he stopped and listened, and everything stopped and listened with him, and the forest was very lone and still and peaceful in the sunshine, until suddenly 100 miles above him a lark began to sing. And here's a picture of Rabbit at the bottom of the tree. "Bother," said Rabbit, "he's gone out." He went back to the green front door just to make sure, and as he was turning away, feeling that his morning had got all spoiled, when he saw a piece of paper on the ground, and there was a pin in it, and it had fallen off the door. "Ha!" said Rabbit, feeling quite happy again. Another notice. This is what it said: "Gone out, Baxon, busy, Baxon, C.R." "Ha!" said Rabbit again. "I must tell the others," and he hurried off importantly. The nearest house was Owl's, and to Owl's house in the 100-acre woods he made his way. He came to Owl's door and knocked, and he rang, and he rang, and he knocked, and at last Owl's head came out and said, "Go away, I'm thinking. Oh, it's you," which was how he always began. Owl, said Rabbit shortly. "You and I have brains. The others have fluff. If there's any thinking to be done in the forest, and when I say thinking, I mean thinking, you and I must do it." "Yes," said Owl, "I was." "Read that." Owl took Christopher Robin's notice from Rabbit and looked at it nervously. He could spell his own name, Wall, and he could spell Tuesday, so that you knew it wasn't Wednesday, and when he could read quite comfortably when you weren't looking over his shoulder and saying, "Well," all the time, and he could... "Well?" said Rabbit. "Yes," said Owl, looking wise and thoughtful. "I see what you mean, undoubtedly." "Well?" "Exactly," said Owl, "precisely." And then he added after a little thought, "If you had not come to me, I should have come to you." "Why?" asked Rabbit. "For the very same reason," said Owl, hoping that something helpful would happen soon. "Yesterday morning," said Rabbit solemnly, "I went to see Christopher Robin. He was out. Pinned on his door was a notice." "The same notice?" "A different one, but the meaning was the same. It's very odd." "Amazing," said Owl, looking at the notice again, and getting just for a moment a curious sort of feeling that something had happened to Christopher Robin's back. What did you do? Nothing. The best thing, said Owl wisely. Well, said Rabbit again, to Owl, as he was going to. Exactly, said Owl. For a little while he couldn't think of anything more, and all of a sudden he had an idea. Tell me, Rabbit, he said, the exact words on the first notice. This is very important. Everything depends on this. The exact words on the first notice. It was the same as that one, really. Owl looked at him and wondered whether to push him off the tree, but feeling as he could always do it afterwards, he tried once more to find out what they were talking about. The exact words, please, he said, as if Rabbit hadn't spoken. It just said, gone out, Baxon. Same as this, only this says, busy Baxon, too. Owl gave a sigh of relief. Ah, said Owl, now we know where we are. Yes, but where's Christopher Robin, said Rabbit. That's the point. Ah, said Owl, now we... Oh. Owl looked at the notice again. To one of his education, the reading of it was easy. Gone out, Baxon, busy, Baxon. This is the sort of thing you'd expect to see in a notice. It's quite clear what has happened, my dear Rabbit. Christopher Robin has gone out somewhere with Baxon. He and Baxon are busy together. Have you seen Baxon anywhere in the forest lately? I don't know, said Rabbit. That's why I came here, to ask you. Well, what are they? Well, said Owl, the spotted or herbaceous Baxon is just... At least, he said, if it's really more... Of course, he said, it really depends on... Well, said Owl, the fact is, he said, I don't know what they're like, said Owl frankly. Thank you, said Rabbit, and he hurried off to Pooh. Alright, Christy, we'll continue this tomorrow. There's a lot of talking in this story. Rabbit is so busy. But, I love you. Sleep well, keep calm, find a llama, carry on. Or maybe Baxon, and I'll talk to you soon. I love you, Christy. Good night.